do.
So what would the president's critics do? Let's ask one. Senator Jim DeMint joins us live. He's also the author of the book, Saving Freedom, We Can Stop America's Slide into Socialism. Good evening, Senator. And I suppose there are essentially two issues. One is the Recovery Act and whether or not you're for it or against it, and also as to whether or not it has actually been implemented at the speed or the pace at which it was promised. Having said that, the vice president says, what would you do? So there's your question. What would you do, sir?
Well, this was a government spending plan, and it's grown some government employees temporarily, but it hasn't met the promises they talked about, Greta. I introduced the American option. Republicans had a number of different options that would leave more money in the economy, basically keep the tax rates the same, make the current tax rates permanent, and reduce taxes to small businesses and workers. That's a way to keep money in the economy rather than taking it out and have the government pick who is going to get it. They made promises that our unemployment would never go above 8% if we passed it. They wanted it passed in one day. It hasn't worked, and it's really time to look at letting the economy work the way it should.
All right, the unemployment figure, that's bad, that's grim, that's dismal. But the housing starts, there was a really favorable number yesterday that it is the highest, I think, in about 8 years. That was a good sign. Are there any signs either way to support or defeat whether or not the Recovery Act as passed in February is a good idea?
Well, Greta, earlier in the year, even in January, we were predicting that at the end of the summer and the fall, we would see our economy begin to come back. And we expected housing to come back. We hope to have an upturn in the fall. But frankly, it's difficult to connect this government spending with the upturn in housing. The Obama plan was supposed to improve employment, and we're not seeing that at this point. But we introduced real options to this, and those options are still on the table. We've got one of the highest tax rates in the world. The president is talking about increasing those taxes to pay for more government spending. That's only going to cost us more jobs. So hopefully we won't continue to go down this road of bigger government and more debt, as Steve Moore was just talking about. But let's just leave more money in the economy and let the people who really create jobs create more jobs for us.
Well, I guess there's a profound difference between making payroll and making jobs. And I think that's probably, a concern. Are we simply using money now to make payroll, and that eventually we're going to run into problems when we can't make payroll anymore? Or are we actually creating jobs? And I'm not sure how we measure it if we're going to throw into this whole job creation figure saving jobs, because I don't know how you can measure whether you've saved a job or not.
Yeah, well, we've learned to not believe what they talk about. But I was a small businessman for most of my life before I ran for Congress with 10 or 20 employees. And just the taxes themselves, Greta, if I was able to keep a little bit more money, that makes it easier to hire a person or keep a person. But if you keep my taxes at a high rate and even plan to increase them, as the Obama administration is talking about, it's hard to plan to expand your business, to buy new equipment. So most of Americans and small businesses right now don't know what our tax rates are going to be next year. We don't know what the new government plan is going to be for penalizing us for health care. I think what we're talking about now in Washington is creating so much unpredictability that people aren't taking the risk and making the investments they need to make our economy grow. But the American economy is resilient. Americans are out there trying to get the economy going back, getting going again. But I don't think it has much to do with this big government spending plan we passed a few months ago.
All right, this is random. Maybe everybody knows this. I don't. So what was your small business?
I did marketing and strategic planning for a lot of different companies, but for a lot of hospitals and doctors groups, nurses. I worked in healthcare for years, so healthcare has been one of my passions, and I've been working on healthcare reform since I got in Congress. So it's really frustrating for me to see the Obama administration block all real reforms and then say we have to have the government to take it over. That really makes me want to pull my hair out.
Well, maybe before you pull your hair out, see if you can't get everybody to read what they're voting on when it comes to health care. But that may be a bigger challenge than health care reform. Anyway, we got to go, Senator. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greta.